On the night of October 15, 1946, the Allied forces had won. The war was over. Justice, it seemed, had finally been delivered. The 12 most powerful men of the Third Reich sat in their cells in Nuremberg prison awaiting execution at dawn. Guards patrolled every corridor, every meal was checked, every surface was inspected. The system was perfect. By 10:44 p.m., Hermann Göring, the second most powerful man in Nazi Germany, Hitler's chosen successor, commander of the Luftwaffe, was already dead. He had cheated the hangman by 2 hours and 17 minutes, and to this day, no one knows exactly how he did it.
To understand how Göring died, you first have to understand what he was. Not just a war criminal, not just a name on a list. Hermann Wilhelm Göring was for over a decade the second face of the most powerful dictatorship in modern history. In World War I, he was a decorated fighter ace, 18 confirmed aerial kills, commander of the legendary Richthofen squadron after the Red Baron's death. He was celebrated, admired, a national hero. By the late 1920s, he had found Adolf Hitler, and in Hitler, Göring saw something rare, a man whose ambitions matched his own appetites. He joined the Nazi Party early. He was present at the beer hall putsch in 1923. He was shot in the groin during the chaos of that failed coup, and it was during his recovery that he was first prescribed morphine. He would never fully stop using it. By 1933, Hitler was Chancellor of Germany, and Göring was everywhere. He founded the Gestapo. He built the Luftwaffe from nothing into the most feared air force on the continent. He was Reich Marshal, a rank created specifically for him above every other military title in Germany. He wore custom uniforms, he collected stolen art, he built a palatial estate called Karrenhall, named after his dead first wife, filled with looted masterpieces from across occupied Europe. The man was not subtle. But behind the spectacle, behind the medals and the morphine and the theatrical self-regard, there was a cold, calculating mind, a man who had survived by knowing always which way the wind was blowing, until the wind changed permanently. By 1945, the Reich was collapsing. Hitler had retreated to his bunker beneath Berlin. Göring, believing his Führer was finished, sent a telegram, carefully worded, technically deferential, asking to assume leadership of Germany. Hitler's response was immediate. He stripped Göring of all titles. He ordered his arrest. He called him a traitor. For the man who had spent 15 years as the most powerful figure in Germany after Hitler himself, this was the end, not with glory, with a Gestapo cell. When American forces reached him in May 1945, Göring surrendered personally. He carried 22,000 paracodeine tablets in his luggage. Doctors at the time described his addiction as severe. Before the trial could even begin, Allied physicians spent months getting him clean. The transformation was striking. The bloated, glassy-eyed figure who surrendered to the Americans became at Nuremberg something far more dangerous, a sharp, composed, ruthless debater. The International Military Tribunal at Nuremberg began in November 1945. 22 major Nazi defendants, 4 charges: conspiracy, crimes against peace, war crimes, crimes against humanity. Göring treated it like a performance. He dominated cross-examinations. He lectured Allied prosecutors. He talked circles around American attorney Robert Jackson to such a degree that Jackson had to be replaced. British prosecutor David Maxwell Fyfe finally managed to shake him on the persecution of Jews, but even then, Göring never flinched. He was not trying to save his life, he was trying to write his legacy. On October 1, 1946, the verdicts were read. Göring was found guilty on all 4 counts. The sentence? Death by hanging. He made one request, to be shot as a soldier rather than hanged as a criminal. The tribunal denied it. And so, in cell 5 of Nuremberg prison, Göring waited. He wrote letters. He maintained his composure. By all accounts, he slept well. Execution was scheduled for the early hours of October 16th. He had 14 days. On the night of October 15th, 1946, at 10:44 p.m., a guard heard a sound from cell 5. He looked through the inspection slot. Hermann Göring was convulsing. By the time medical personnel reached him, he was dead. On the floor beside him, a crushed brass cartridge casing. Inside his mouth, traces of potassium cyanide. The hangman had been scheduled to come in less than 3 hours. The immediate question, the question that American military authorities spent weeks investigating, was simple. Where did he get it? Göring had been searched repeatedly, thoroughly. His cell had been inspected. His food was monitored. His visitors were recorded. He had been under near constant surveillance for almost a year, and yet the brass casing recovered from the cell had a small hollow chamber, precisely the right size to conceal a glass cyanide capsule. It was, investigators concluded, the kind of container that could be hidden inside a body cavity, hidden in a jar of skin cream, hidden, perhaps, in the hem of a glove, hidden, theoretically, anywhere. In his final written note left behind for the tribunal, Göring wrote, "I have had the capsule with me since before my first search in Augsburg. It has been in my possession all along." Some investigators believed him, that he had simply brilliantly concealed it through every search for over a year. Others were not so sure. A guard named Herbert Lee Stevers later confessed, decades after the trial, that a German woman he had been romantically involved with had asked him to pass small items to Göring. He said he thought they were innocent. He said he didn't know what was inside. His account has never been fully verified. The woman was never identified with certainty. The official U.S. Army investigation concluded unknown. The source of the cyanide capsule was officially listed as undetermined. It remains so today.
10 other defendants were hanged in the early hours of October 16, 1946, as scheduled. Göring was not among them. His body was photographed, displayed to the press alongside the executed men, then cremated. His ashes, along with those of the executed defendants, were scattered in the Isar River so that no grave could ever become a shrine. Hermann Göring killed more people, looted more art, and accumulated more personal power than almost any individual in the 20th century. He helped build a machine responsible for millions of deaths. And in the end, the one thing the Allied powers could not control was him. He chose his own exit, on his own terms, in his own time. Whether that capsule was smuggled in by a love-struck soldier, hidden by Göring himself, or passed by someone whose name history never recorded, we do not know. What we do know is this: the man who built the Gestapo, the organization whose entire purpose was that no one could hide anything, hid something, somewhere, for over a year. Right under their noses.